Sir Charles Mackerras has been regarded for so many decades as one of the great Mozartian interpreters that it could hardly be more fitting that his last appearance on the podium before his death was here at Glyndebourne conducting one of Mozart's finest operas, Così fan tutte. Fitting also that he should have been working with the orchestra of the Age of Enlightenment, for it should never be forgotten that he was also one of the great pioneers of the period instrument revolution. At the age of 84, his attention to detail was as great as ever, and his brisk tempi showed no signs of slowing. He was also delighted to share his knowledge and insights, which I know he did freely with James Whitbourn, who conducted performances of Cosi later in the run and who worked with him in rehearsal, and also with me, who had the pleasure of taking his last interview in the lovely surroundings of Glyndebourne's organ room. Of course, today the period instrument techniques are very widely accepted.
Yes.
But a number of years ago, this was not the case. You were one of the pioneers in this. Well, you must have had a lot of conviction about the benefits of doing so.
Yes, well, I did. I did a long time ago a performance of Figaro at Sadler's Wells, in which I introduced things which I believed in very passionately, such as appoggiaturas in the voice parts in the recitatives, you know, that practice of singing the notes above the one that's written in order to give accent to the word. I think that we went too far, of course. One always does when one starts on a thing. I think we went a bit over the top, but I suppose better that way than too little.
I was talking to James the other day, who's sharing this run of Così with you, and trying to put our finger on what it was about Mozart's writing, particularly in his mature writing, that is so brilliant. Can you put your finger on it?
To some extent, yes. He has certain habits which occur in nearly every work of his, particularly of his late works. One is to repeat something in the minor key, having just presented it in the major. And another thing is having presented a theme, say, in 4-bar phrases, he then cuts it up and presents it again in 3-bar phrases or 5-bar phrases or something unusual. I mean, it seems to me that the difference between a composer like Mozart and, let's say, Salieri or J.C. Bach or one of them of the same period is that Mozart doesn't write in 4-bar phrases all the time. He breaks it up and he uses harmonic tricks, let's call them, which could not have come from those more minor composers like Christian Bach and Salieri and all those people.
So it's about the unpredictable and unexpected
That's
as well,
true, yes. Even when you get to know the work, it's still unpredictable.
And you must know this work pretty well by now.
Well, I do. I've conducted it, I can't imagine how many times, but it's certainly over 100.
Do you think there are signs within the music of a particularly advanced state of genius, as it were, compared with earlier?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's all those ensembles are so well clever. And I mean, the way Mozart puts together the ensembles, the trios and quartets and things, is certainly redolent of very mature thinking. I mean, he died so young, poor man, but I mean, he had reached a state of maturity, I think, in his music.
And let me ask you then a little about Nicholas Heitner's production. And having conducted so many other versions. What do you see here that's brought to it?
A few things that struck me as being differently treated. So often, Dorabella is treated as a flippity gibbet, and Fiordaligi is a sort of very tremendously serious character, whereas I think Nicholas Heitner managed to just get a perfect balance between the characters of those two girls. The treatment also of the two male lovers was, I thought, ideal. In fact, I thought it was an ideal production altogether. I've always been a great admirer of Nicholas Heitner.
So just about the plot, first of all, it's as simple or as complex as you can wish to make it. How do you read the story? The
plot is really more complicated than it looks. It's not just a simple test of women's fidelity, and I think it was a bit unfair of him to call it Così fan tutte, because that means that he thinks, that Don Alfonso, he thinks that women are all faithless and that all they need is another man to make them happy.
And it is officially a comedy, of course.
Yeah.
But it has an edge to it, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
It's not all a laugh.
No. There are not very many laughs in it at all, actually. It's a comedy in the sense that it ends, so to speak, happily. Although, of course, we don't really know whether they go back to their old loves or whether they stick with new ones. And that's one doubtful thing in the whole plot of the opera, that we don't know we don't really know how it's supposed to end. The cynical old philosopher, Don Alfonso, can keep on saying, well, you've got to face the fact that nothing's perfect. Well, he keeps on saying that all the time, but of course, it's his men friends who aren't perfect, as well as the girls.
E faran quel ch'io dirò. Quale destre siete sposi, abbracciatevi e tacete.
After all we've spoken about, where do you think Cosi sits into the whole of the Mozartian literature as one of the great Mozartian conductors today?
Thank you. I think that in a way you can place Così fan tutte above, certainly above Don Giovanni. I'm talking about the plot now, only the dramatical side of it, that you could place it above Don Giovanni and on a par, perhaps on a par with Beaumarchais' Figaro. It's so ingenious that one is still trying to work it out after 50 years, you know.